Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints. And in this episode, I talked to Lawrence La Pianta. I'm sure I'm saying his last name incorrectly. It's an Italian last name. He is from Cherry Street BBQ in Toronto, Canada. They have two locations. They have their location they've had for a number of years, as well as their new location is in Assemblies Hall, which is really cool. He talks about both locations. His background isn't barbecue, which is similar to a lot of people, but he got the bug. He talks about the different classes that he took. He went out to 17th Street BBQ in Murphysboro, Illinois. They have an amazing class about kind of learning the barbecue business, and he went to that and he got to meet a lot of the great barbecue people. And I'll put links to all those things in the show notes as well as a blog, because it is really interesting. And that's a way, if you're interested in opening a barbecue joint and you don't have the knowledge, you go to these classes and you network and you learn from masters, the guys who have been doing it forever. So that's a cool aside. That's a cool part of this. But he talks about growing his business and how quickly they were able to construct and get the restaurant going, which is phenomenal. But it's because of his TV and film background. And then we talk about Brisket King in New York, which he went to, and he won. And he talks about the Big Apple barbecue party. He talks about his relationship with Billy Journey and other barbecue people. And it's a great interview. And at the end, in the YouTube version of this, we do a little tour of his restaurant, as well as the outside area and the pits, and that's awesome. I love that kind of stuff, and I know you guys love that too. Well, thank you, Lawrence. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching these. I dig making them, and I love learning about the barbecue world. I hope you guys do too. If you're liking these too, please subscribe so they can all pop up in your YouTube feed, and enjoy this. But I want to get into your background. I want to get into your two spots. One spot, is it a food hall, kind of like a big?
Yeah, basically what it is that we were approached about almost a year and a half ago now, and the concept was they're going to bring together a bunch of like real restaurants. So there's no chains at all in this place. Cool. It's all real restaurants, real chefs. It's chef driven, so we kind of create our menus. We've got anonymity with whatever we want to do, as long as we stay within our genre, right? Like, there's a taco place right next to me. I'm not going to start doing Tex-Mex because it really doesn't, No. I could collaborate all the time, but you wouldn't do that, right? So we do straight barbecue.
Okay, you stay in your lane. So
yeah, exactly. Everyone stays in their lane. We play together, we cross lanes, and we collaborate. But but other than that, we stick to what we do.
Yeah, you're not going to do like barbecue pizza or anything like that?
No, but we often I'll cook up. I mean, for me, barbecue is anything cooked on wood. So I do my own style of porchetta and all the rest of this stuff. So often there's a pizza place there, so we'll cook stuff up and we'll share it with them, and we'll throw it on their pizzas, and so
that's great.
We do barbecue pizza, I guess.
in a sense, well, I guess we kind of have jumped into it, and I'll kind of explain in the intro what we were talking about. But Lawrence, first off, thank you so much for taking the time and making sure that this got set up, because I've been meaning to talk to you for a long time, and I've been very curious because there's not a lot of barbecue or American style barbecue in Canada. So
it's growing.
It's growing, yeah, for sure, yeah.
There's a lot of guys cooking, a lot of barbecue out west, Alberta, and out for the west. I got a guy who I opened up this place with, who's got a place now out in Tofino.
Oh, really?
Right down on the water, and he's doing great. And he's got his second location set up on a campground, and he's having a really good time with that. So.
Is it Texas style?
He's kind of, I guess, I've always been, like, I obviously love, that's where my love grew for barbecue, was my trips down in Texas. Yeah. I always try to say it's Toronto style because I grew up in a very multicultural neighborhood, and I cook a lot of barbecue with a lot of different friends, and they're from a variety of backgrounds. So Texas-style barbecue is something that I hold, close to my heart. But realistically, because I'm cooking in Toronto, I've always been hesitant to fly the Texas flag, although I'm a huge proponent, and I love everything Texas, and that's kind of what fueled my fire, which was so great about doing that whole thing at Hot Luck and getting to be down and cooking. Even though I was cooking with Billy, it was cooking in Aaron's kitchen. I was like, this is like getting invited to the Vatican.
It is. No, it is. No, without a doubt. And it's got to have there's got to be some pinch me moments in that whole situation where like, I can't believe where I am right now.
That's really where like my love for barbecue started. Aaron had just opened a new location. It was a trip down. It was my third trip down to Texas. And I made it to Austin. I went and tried the food there. I was like, I'd done everything, and he was the last stop before I came home. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. This is unreal.
Did you grow up with like a culture of barbecue around you, or did you grow up in Toronto?
Yeah, grew up in Toronto, first generation Canadian. Like my parents immigrated here in '63, so my first language wasn't even English when I grew up.
What was it?
We grew up speaking Italian in the house, so it's kind of funny. A lot of my staff will say my first language still isn't English, but no, it was. So exactly. I got strong influences from so I grew up in a very multicultural neighborhood. Most of my friends were Chinese, Filipino, from the Caribbean. So grew up with really a mishmash of influences and styles and all the rest of it. Like I was the kid going to school trading my prosciutto and provolone sandwich for like a peanut butter and jelly because I was like, "What's that? That looks amazing."
And they're like, "What's that? That looks amazing."
Yeah, they're like, "Why is your sandwich so big? It's bigger than my head." I'm like, "I don't know. That's the way my parents made it."
That's cool. Were you guys grilling at home or even live fire?
We were doing a lot of one of my strongest influences is actually one of my closest friends, Keith, who's Filipino. And they used to cook whole pigs like lechons.
Oh, yeah. Lechon, yeah. That's a big deal.
All the time.
Yeah.
And we worked at FedEx when we were in university.
Okay.
And he worked at the airport, and I worked at another station. And on weekends, I would drive to the airport and do that shuttle run. And he'd be calling me going, "Hey, pilot so-and-so came in," because, obviously the main hub's in Memphis, and they would bring up barbecue. This is like pre-9/11. So they would bring up treats for us and all that stuff. He's like, "Oh, they brought in ribs and all this stuff." And I go, and we've eaten these ribs. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is like something I haven't had before here. We cooked. There was some barbecue places around, but no one was doing like really authentic stuff and really activating the game. So
it makes a difference when you have authentic barbecue or a specific regional barbecue. It does change.
Yeah, it was completely different from anything we had ever tasted. Like this was no boiled ribs and then thrown on a grill. This was like real, wood-fired cooking. So we did that.
So yeah. So you would do. So would you even cook the lechon, or would you guys order it in? Because I think a lot of people have.
No, we would cook it. We would cook it. We would order it in. Like usually we would be cooking it though, and we'd cook in his backyard, and it was awesome.
So that kind of sparked a little, like you said.
Yeah, that was like early. That was late '90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And then I guess it was kind of funny because a few days ago I recently moved into a place and I had a box full of stuff, and I was going through all these old receipts, and I found a box full of receipts from like 2005, and it was like I was like, "Oh my god, this is from my first like brisket cook."
Really?
I went out and, it was like $300 I spent to cook a brisket because finding a whole packer was impossible.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I think I ended up spending like $100 at the time to get a whole packer from like some specialty butcher, and I bought like a $99 like half price tin can smoker from our local, what would be it was Canadian Tire, but it's like our Lowe's kind of thing, or Home Depot before Home Depot was here. And so I bought the smoker for half price, and I bought the brisket, and I spent like $100 on wood that was from the U.S. I bought it at some specialty barbecue store, and that's where I found the receipt. And it was like 2005, and that was like my first ever brisket cook, and it was interesting to say.
Well, so what made you want to cook brisket? Was it something like had you and your friend been talking, or is this just like...
Yeah, we'd been just talking about wanting to do cook a brisket, and it'd be so cool, and we got our hands on some beef ribs, and we did this cook that was probably, I don't know, a couple $100 worth of just meat. And,
how did it turn out?
Oh, it was horrible. It was inedible. Like we tried to convince ourselves it was edible, but it was just so bad.
That's what's tough too with barbecue when you spend a lot of money and it turns out terrible. That's like, it's kind of disheartening at first. You have to get over that hump.
You know what? We had a good laugh about it. We're like, this is, we're trying to convince ourselves it was good, but I was just like thinking back. I was like, it was like we were 9 hours into the cook, and I'm like, this brisket's got to be ready. Not even close.
Yeah, no, it feels like a long time when you first started. Oh gosh. So okay, yeah. So then at that point, were you thinking, hey, down the road, I want to open a restaurant? Like, was that something, or did you go to culinary school?
I was working in film at the time. I did locations and film and commercials. Okay. So I was super busy in that. But what it did is allowed me the opportunity to travel. I would do long stints of work. Like you go, 30, 40 days on multiple jobs. And then all of a sudden you have a chance. You got a week off. I'm like, I'm going somewhere barbecue related. So
nice.
I would fly. The first trip down to Houston, I think, was 2007. Okay. Yeah. 2007 I went down and actually took a course at Gator Pit.
Oh, really?
down in Houston, which it's funny because I've gone back and I've watched some of the other videos now that you've done with other pitmasters, and some other guys that you've interviewed have done the same course.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was with a gentleman named Conrad Haskins. I just found out recently through one of the interviews that he had passed away. Actually, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I went down and did that course, and that's when I did my first trip down to Lockhart, and I went to Blacks and Smitty's and Kreutz's and experienced all that stuff, and it was amazing.
Yeah. I was gonna say it probably was amazing, dude. It was amazing to me.
It was like, this is incredible. So I got to figure out a way to make better barbecue.
Yeah.
So
and also just seeing the pits and seeing all that, it's and the way that the service and everything, it's so crazy.
I think what impressed me the most is the service and the pits and all that, but it was the culture behind it, like, and the way that people were just like. It was funny because there's two worlds, right? Because I compete and I cook in the restaurant, and I find that when you get around really great barbecue cooks, there are no real secrets. They're great at sharing stuff. It's just the competition guys who, call it shiggin, and they're like, it's my secret. I let it rest on the table for 4 hours or whatever.
That's okay, so funny. Yes.
Yeah, that whole competition culture and the restaurant culture of people are like, I find totally different.
Completely,
Both
yeah.
Really great people, but all the pitmasters I know in the States, there's no secrets. Mm-hmm. It's the only competition guys kind of figure that they have some kind of secret.
Yeah, like the best of the best don't have secrets. Isn't there? I think even Billy Journey has like secrets are for suckers. I think he said.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And Billy's been a big influence on my cooking and the way I see barbecue as well. We share a lot of the same ideologies and stuff. So
that's awesome.
We've cooked together quite a bit.
So when you you started going down. So you went to Texas. Did you go to Austin from there? Was that your first trip?
No, that was my first trip to Austin was 2009. I went down there. And was it 2009 or 2010? Can't remember. But went down, and that's when I made it to Aaron's at the end. And I'd done mostly Austin that time. I actually landed in Dallas, went to a bunch of places in Dallas, and then drove down to did the 4-hour drive to Austin. And I was supposed to go see Wayne over at Louis Miller, and I ended up getting a speeding ticket on the way down to Austin. Which is a whole other story. And on my way back, I had to actually go and appear in front of the judge and pay it.
Really?
Before I left.
Like a small town thing or something? Or?
Oh, yeah. It was in Alvarado, I think. That it was like literally, and it was so funny because I pull into this town square, and it felt like the town square in Back to the Future. Like there's the old clock tower that didn't work, and there's tumbleweeds blowing around. And I walk in, there's this massive lineup, but it's like the city hall office as well, so people are paying their property taxes or water taxes or whatever. Yeah. And then there's this little window, and I was just like, hi, I'm the Canadian guy. I don't know any better. I got to pay a ticket. They're like, oh, you're at the right window.
But then you didn't make it down to Louis Miller?
So I didn't get down. I went and saw Wayne like a couple years later, actually. I finally made it down to see him. But, that was an interesting trip. So since then, I've been back probably about a handful of times.
Nice. That's important. It kind of seems like that's like a pattern for a lot of people is to keep going back and then meeting different people and creating like a network of people to talk to too. Yeah,
no, and absolutely. And it was like one of the best things I ever, like coolest things I ever did. I remember was going down to National Barbecue Convention down in Fort Worth there 2 years ago. And Sam was there, Jones, cooking whole hog in Texas. And everyone's like completely like, what are you doing? What's going on here? Blah, blah, blah. So they're like blown away by it. So Sam and Daniel and myself did a hog cook there for the last day of the festival. And it was like so interesting because even all these Texans were kind of like, you're cooking a whole hog? That's crazy. What are you doing?
Still, it's a big deal in Texas. There's a few people that will do it, but it's just, I think if you cook whole hog anywhere, it's a spectacle.
It is. It's awesome. So getting to do that was amazing as well. So I've been very fortunate.
So what was the next step? But was it still in the back of your mind? I might open a restaurant or do catering? Is that kind of what?
So I came back and in was it 20? I just back and forth. I'd been doing a lot of classes down actually at 17th Street too with Mike and Amy Mills.
Nice.
So I went down there and did that. I came back and I helped a friend open up another like a small bar. Actually, it was a Southern style comfort food restaurant, and they wanted to put barbecue on the menu. So I left film for almost a year, and I went and I worked in the kitchen there. And basically, it started as, hey, Lawrence, can you do barbecue on Saturdays? And I was like, sure, no problem. And he's like, oh, we don't really have a plan for Sundays, but we should do barbecue on Sundays. So I'm like, okay, let's do barbecue all weekend. And then it turned into just like, 70% of the menu was barbecue 7 days a week. So I did that for a year, and then I went back into film while I was trying to – at that time, I was already actively looking for a place to do a barbecue place. To do a barbecue joint, and I knew that I wanted to cook on wood, so I needed to find a very specific place where I could do that. So I knew I had to be a bit of a destination, but I still wanted to be close to Toronto. But with my background doing locations, I kind of knew the entire city like the back of my hand.
Yeah, that's actually a great, yeah.
I had my eye on where I am now, well before. Oh, sorry about that. Don't need to talk to him.
Is that like your old timey phone call?
Yeah, exactly. I've got a lot of nostalgia, including my ringer. So I had my eye on the place where I am now because it's to my downtown location when I deliver it takes 10 minutes in traffic.
Oh, wow.
So close I am to the core of Toronto, but yet I feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere.
That's awesome.
Down in the Portlands, all there is it's all the movie studios are down here.
Oh, really?
And there's a music event venue, and there's us, and there's another restaurant just north of here. But really, there's a lot of activity in the area, but there's not a lot of development. It's still very industrial.
Wow, that's awesome. So did you go down to 17th Street prior to opening this restaurant, like just prior, or? Oh,
yeah, no. This was back in. I think the first class was like 2012.
Wow. So that's a big deal to go there without having a restaurant. It's just because you get so much knowledge.
And that's where I ended up meeting Billy and Sam and and Pat and the guys from the Shed and Wayne. They were all teaching down there at the time, so Amy had them as lecturers. That's
so great. That's so worth it.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I got to cook with them down there, hang out, and then I just made it a point to go visit all of them. Actually, the only person I haven't been to visit it's embarrassing, but I haven't been down to see Sam, so I got to make a trip down.
Neither have I. That's something that's in the next couple months.
Maybe I'll meet you there.
Yeah, we should meet there. We have to obviously go to both places, but yeah.
Yeah, go to both places and just
so much around there.
It's so amazing, and with everything that's happened down there, and getting nominated for James Beard and all that, it's so happy for Sam.
Have you been to any classes with Rodney?
No, I haven't. Yet he was actually in New York at the block party, but we didn't get a chance to cross paths. He had just won the James Beard, so he was busy. He had all of his time was booked up. So
yeah,
he didn't
I'm sure the media was going.
Didn't have much time to chat. So I wasn't about to try to build up a conversation with somebody who I've never met before in the middle of that circus.
That's true. You know what's funny is I kept my Twitter feed was all full of Rodney Scott, and I'm like, God, everybody's talking, but then I realized I pretty much follow everyone. It's barbecue.
Yeah,
stuff.
You're like, wow, it's really blown up. It's like, well, my entire feed is barbecue.
Yeah. I always think that for almost anything I see. I'm like, wow, everyone's posting stuff about Daniel. I'm like, wait, that's because it's all.
Yeah, it makes sense because everyone I followed.
Yeah, because I've sort of filtered my entire the way I look at the world through my.
Yeah, I used to have my Twitter feed split up between stuff the NBA says, stuff the NFL says, and stuff that barbecue says. Oh, and it was each feed was just filled with those people, and it made my life a little easier.
But now I think I follow too many people, so my feed's just a mess. But so then what did you you had that location in mind? When did you secure it?
I secured it back in spring of 2016. So we're only in our second full year here. It's our third summer. So we started summer of 2016, and we opened to a great weather-wise, because I've got a massive patio. I've got a 100-seat patio, and I got 50 seats inside. So the patio is really important to us to allow us to feed more people. And when we opened, it was weird because I got the keys. I pretty much had 3 weeks to open the place. And I had already a bunch of restaurateur friends in Toronto because of the film thing, because I'd filmed at their restaurants or I'd met them or worked with them. And they're all like, listen, 3 weeks, it can't be done. It ain't going to happen. Don't get upset. Don't set your expectations too high. And then I turn around and talk to film friends and I'm like, hey, I've got 3 weeks to open this place. And they're like, it's like 3 months for you. And I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. And we literally got her open in just over 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
3 weeks to open. And we basically signed the paperwork. And I had a very close friend of mine who was an art director, designer, who basically designed the interior of the place. And then I reached out to one of the film set carpentry companies. Oh. And they were like, yeah, we've actually got a lull for a week. So they knocked out all of my stuff in about a week. And as soon as I was done the demo, they started the install. We started doing the install of the stuff probably 6 days after we got the keys.
Really? Oh, that's crazy.
And we had a lot of work to do. And I've got 3 shipping containers, 20-foot containers in the back that pretty much house all my cookers. And we had those installed. One of them is now my bar, and it faces the patio.
Okay.
So it's super cool. And, worked with the guys at the container company was actually out by the airport, which is the other side of town. And now they're my neighbors. They're just down the street. So we see them all the time when they come in. We're working on more projects. I just love the whole container thing. It's unlimited do with them.
It is. It's fascinating. They're starting to kind of do a little bit of that here, and there's
Right.
there's some different like container parks, and I know they've done stuff in Austin. That's right. It's a good use too, like to recycle those and
Oh, 100%. They're all decommissioned, but
yeah.
they all work for whatever it is you need. You can build them into anything. So
Yeah.
it's super cool. I'm actually looking at getting another one potentially and putting it out by the pits, but making it a reefer. So that basically I'd get all my proteins delivered straight into there. I can make all my sausage and butchery and all that stuff right outside by the pits, and walk out from my fridge and load it right in the pit, which would be awesome.
What type of pits do you have?
So I've got 2 Langs that I purchased. I basically towed up from Brooklyn. I got them off of Billy when Billy got Aaron's pits. Then he had more pits than he needed at the time.
Okay.
Now he probably needs all of them back, but so
But you need them too.
Yeah, I took those off his hands in 2015. So I had the pits for about a year before I opened the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So I've got two 108s. I got a kitchen model and the trailer version, and then I've also got an oiler as well.
Did you? Oh, wow, that's nice. Did you go down to Billy's place to test them and play with them a little bit to practice, or did you?
I mean, the Langs were kind of, it was what I learned how to cook on, really. I mean, I remember going to the first block party that Billy was in, and it was literally, we spent all night cooking on them. We did beef ribs that first year, and I think we did like 4,500 pounds of beef ribs for the block party that year. Wow. It was insane. And we had 4 of them going at the time. 4, yeah. It was crazy. There were 4 pits going, beef ribs going nonstop. Loading for service, pulling them, loading again for the next day. It was a lot of it was fire by baptism. It was baptism by fire for sure.
Did you work with Billy? Was that prior to your restaurant opening, or was that your first year at the restaurant?
Yeah, no, it was prior to. Yeah, it was. So he did. I think the first block party that he did was 14. Yeah. So it was probably about a year before I bought the cookers off of him, and 2 years before I opened Cherry Street.
So what was the reception at first when you guys opened?
Well, we opened. It was such great weather, and people were like, "What's this new place down by the water?" And it's like I said, it's very active neighborhood in terms of cyclists and dog parks and all that stuff. And people were coming in, and they had no idea. And then they'd come out back, and we probably, to my detriment, did more pit tours than I should have at the beginning, because everyone's like, "What? I've never seen this. This is amazing." And it's so funny too, because it's so impressive to people who aren't around, and I take for granted because we do it every day. Mm-hmm. Like what it is, but they look at the firebox and they look at the cookers and they're like,
"It's a big deal.
It's amazing. This is like this, and it smells amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, it is awesome." So it's open and close, and I'm like, all of a sudden my briskets were taking 18 hours. I'm like, guys, stop opening the cookers.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. That's a good. No one really thinks about that part.
Because we would load sometimes, depending on our cook schedule and what we need, what time we need stuff available. We could load as early as 2 PM for the next day once we pulled all of our stuff, wow. Or we could be loading between 5 and 6, or between 5 and 7, and then that's dinner time. Restaurant's packed. Everyone's like, "Hey, can I see what you're cooking?" And
yeah.
So, all of a sudden, I'm like, the next morning, I'm like, why did briskets take literally 18 hours?
What was the menu like at the beginning? It's the same menu you have now?
Pretty much. We opened with like just, the staples. We had brisket, pulled pork, sides and babies, and we put a burger on the menu because when we were opening we called it the contractor burger originally. We were trimming briskets, and I was just putting the trim right through the grinder and making smash patties. And the guys are like, "Guys, man, you got to put a burger on the menu." And I'm like, it's really going to mess up counter style service in a barbecue place when you got a burger. To many people's suggestion of not doing it, I put it on anyways because it's a great burger and I think it's awesome.
And you still have the burger, right? I think I've
still got it. It's called the Double Stack Cherry Mac because it's oddly similar to the world's best selling burger. It's essentially it's an homage to the Big Mac.
That's awesome. That's your version. Now, are you on Cherry Street? Oh, yeah, you are on Cherry. Yeah,
so we're on Cherry Street. So the building we're in was built in 1910. It was a TD Bank originally, and it was a TD Bank between 1910 and 1953 when my present landlord, who still owns the building, purchased it and turned it into a diner.
Oh.
So, and it kind of fed. This area was heavy with like metals, and it's in the Portland. So, back when the shipping business was really busy in Toronto, it was a pretty bustling hub, between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. kind of thing. So they opened up a lunch breakfast spot, and they essentially fed all the people who worked in the area.
And what are your hours right now?
Now we open at 11 a.m. Okay. And we, every day we run till most of the stuff runs out. We do a double cook, except for brisket that comes off every morning. We usually do 2 rib cooks of both kinds, turkey, chicken, all that stuff's continuously. We have enough to get us into lunch, and then we're cooking and pulling again for 3, 4 o'clock to get us into dinner.
Now, you make your own sausage too?
We make our own sausage. Actually, when I did Brisket King in New York, I brought down a sausage because I cooked down at hometown. I borrowed one of Billy's cookers to cook for Brisket King.
Okay.
So I brought down, I made the sausage and I had him try it. And Billy's always deadly honest with me, right? And he looked at me and he was like, he's going to knock the sausage. And he's like, this has got to go on your turn in. You got to turn this in with your brisket. Really? And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's really good. I'm like, awesome. And then that's what we went down and we did 800 pounds of sausage in New York for the block party. So Billy did his sandwich, his chopped brisket with cheese sauce and our sausage on it for what we served this year at block
I remember
party.
seeing pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot of sausage. I took my kitchen manager down, who is an amazing sausage maker. And he's just like, I'll dream up ideas and say, hey, I want to make this. And he's just like, you want to put all that in a sausage? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay. And we work on it. And we've had some fails, but most of them have been just like home runs. So
what type of sausage was that?
We do. So during football season, we run a Frito Pie Sausage. Oh. So we essentially take all the ingredients of a Frito pie and put it into a sausage. Oh, and it's awesome.
I've never heard of that. I don't know why. I've heard all the funky sauce. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So we take, we try to, I really wanted the crunch from it. Obviously, when you make sausage, it's not going to work. But we're putting the Frito the actual chip works more as a seasoning in the sausage. So then when we dressed it, we then served it again like a Frito pie. So we put chili back on top of it, cheese sauce on top of it. But when you eat the sausage on its own, it's got all the components and all the elements of a Frito pie. It's really, really good.
That sounds so great. That sounds amazing. But that's during football season.
Yeah, we run that. So we do
Is that your football season or our football season?
For me, there's only one. It's NFL.
Okay.
I had family in Pittsburgh growing up, so I spent a lot of summers in Pittsburgh. So I've been a Steelers fan since I can remember. So
yeah, my cousin's a diehard Steelers fan. Like if you get him a gift, you can get him anything Steelers, and he'll be happy.
Yeah, he'll be like, awesome, black and yellow, perfect.
Yeah, towel, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Who doesn't have 20 terrible towels?
That's awesome. Okay. So it's during that time. So do you have a standard sausage that you have on the menu all the time?
We do. Right now we do. Usually we run an all pork sausage and we run an all beef sausage. Okay. Right now we're just running an 80-20 because it's just we don't even have enough time to make as much sausage as we need. So I was like, let's compact it down into one sausage so that we always have it. So we're doing almost like a traditional hot cut. It's 80-20 beef pork with jalapeno and cheddar.
Wow, that sounds nice.
It's a really, really good sausage. So we've tweak it for about a week, but then we've got it to a point where now it's just sausage making is like baking. It's like a science, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you can mess it up pretty quick.
It's funny because growing up in an Italian household, we used to make tons of sausage. And I'm like, my parents would be like, one day you'll thank me for this. And I'm like, oh yeah, now I do.
Are you making sausage in casing or like loose sausage?
In casing. In casing.
But back in the day when you were a kid.
Back in the day, because we would also make like cacciatore and a bunch of we would dry ones as well. So we'd pack them away under weights and whatnot and make supersatas and cacciatores and all that stuff. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You also have specials too, right?
Yeah, we do, and that's kind of when I bring in it's great because that's what I mean about being like Toronto barbecue. I can do, I've done Filipino stuff. I've done like longanisa sausages, and I've done. I do jerk items, and I do Italian influenced stuff. Like I do a porchetta sandwich, which is my style. So I cook a whole shoulder instead of cooking it like you would a porchetta with the crispy skin. Mm-hmm. So because it's cooked like that, we have our own house cured pancetta. So we'll crisp the pancetta. That acts as the crackling. Mm-hmm. So it's the pancetta on top of my version of porchetta with some rapini or broccoli rabe downstairs. And it's just and I do my own giardiniera as well. So it's like a giardiniera aioli that we put on the bun, but I serve it on a Martin's potato roll. So I keep it.
Yeah, classic. Oh my gosh, What's funny is I have a friend who has he has an animation company in Toronto, and so I kept telling him, you got to go to Cherry Street, and so finally, like I said, I'm talking to him on Tuesday because I mentioned like I'm talking to you, and then we ended up not talking, but I said you have to get out, and like just your menu. I think if anybody listens to this, they will be out there like in an hour because it sounds so great.
Well, we do, and we really like getting creative with stuff. Right now, we're working on some stuff with beef tongue, and that's going to be coming out very soon. We're working on we've got a big like chef's dinner coming up with a couple other restaurants, and we want to really knock it out of the park with a tongue dish because I think it's something that hasn't been done. Like I grew up. My parents were first generation. They worked really hard. So by no means was I a street kid, but it was a very humble upbringing. And we ate stuff like, we ate brain burgers and, we had tongue and we had all these things that, I think are coming. They're definitely back, but it's a lot harder to find. And I think if people get exposed to it and it's cooked with a lot of care, it can be delicious.
Yeah.
I said I don't know if I'll put brain burgers on the menu here, but
brain burgers haven't swept the nation.
No,
haven't swept any nation.
They have a very unique texture too. I don't know how many people are going to fall in love with them.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had brain before. I've had almost everything else, but I haven't had brain. Is it spongy or softer?
It's very soft. It's like think of it as like really really soft, melted. It's a very buttery texture. Okay. But because it was funny, and then I'm the youngest of four, and we'd be having lunch, and whoever ended up getting, because inevitably someone would get the pellet, because their cows were, the way they take our cows. So someone would always get the pellet in their brain burger. Whoever got the pellet had to do dishes.
I think I know someone that when they have they have venison stew or they have some kind of venison chili. Whoever gets the pellet ends up having it. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So it was pretty fun.
So tell me about Brisket King.
So Brisket King was awesome. It was probably one of the hardest cooks I've ever done, though. We started, so the event starts at 5 p.m, so I tried to back all my times out so that I could have rest enough and travel with it, and it'd be hot because there's no warming mechanisms there or anything. So I had to travel through. I had to go from Red Hook up to like almost north of Williamsburg in rush hour traffic. It was like a 55-minute drive. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I thought I was going to be late. So, but that night was also like a horrible, horrible rainstorm. Like the weather started turning at about 2-3 in the morning. And, I started rapping at about 6, and it was horrible. It was like, rain was coming in sideways. It was killing I'm fighting the fire. I'm trying to wrap my briskets. It's super cold. I was just like, oh, why?
Yeah, I know. The temperature is not.
I'm sitting there cursing all the guys getting to cook inside their own kitchens and not be outside the elements. But I'm like, I got to do it. So we ended up it was a very difficult cook. It was an awesome cook, though. I basically, coddled 15 briskets all night long and
And what exactly is Brisket King for people that don't know?
So it's a competition in New York where they invite out a bunch of restaurants. It's pretty much open to anyone who wants to compete. And a variety of people will cook briskets in various ways. It's supposed to be almost all of them are barbecue, but some do other dishes, and they're just ways to be innovative. They really want creativity with the brisket. But, the majority of the people who are there are mostly barbecue people. And I think there was 22 people competing this year.
Okay.
So it was a lot of fun, and we put out brisket that I was super, super proud of. I mean, it was perfect. Everything about it was awesome. And it wasn't just like I had one perfect brisket. It was all of them. I was like, literally, because Nick Solaris was one of the judges, one of the main judges, and there's some sitting at the table, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. Like, if I almost want to invite the judges to my table and say, not to be, bold or anything, but go, you know what, guys, just pick any brisket. I'll unwrap it and slice it for you. Like, they're all perfect.
That's amazing. That doesn't happen often.
No. And so I ended up going up. So I carved this great platter for them, and that's the picture that I posted on Instagram. It was actually Nick's picture. He took that. And I presented it. I sliced a brisket tip to tail. I gave them lean, I gave them fatty, I gave them everything. I put a bunch of garnish on the board. I sliced up a bunch of the sausage, and just put a big mound of meat in front of the judges, and they're all just like, wow.
That's cool.
And they ate it, and everyone was really impressed with it. So I was pretty proud of it.
And you got a crown?
I got a crown. I got my Burger King crown, and then I also got the amazing trophy that they have. And it was kind of funny because they gave me the trophy when I was down there doing block party with Billy, and he's like, nice. He goes, all I got was the damn crown.
Oh yeah, because he won, right? Did he win?
Yeah, Billy won. I think 3 years ago.
Yeah. That's so funny.
So, it was pretty special to get it at the block party with everyone there.
Are you gonna be doing that every year, you think?
I can't. I've up until now. I've done it every year other than last year. Last year, because we had a bunch of stuff booked. We do a lot of caterings and a lot of weddings and stuff. And I had back-to-back caterings last year, that first weekend in June, because it's always the same weekend. Yeah. So I couldn't make it down last year. But yeah, I love going down there. I get a chance to see everybody and hang out. And
yeah, it looks like a great time.
It's a lot of fun. Like it's my, what do I do when I go on vacation? I go cook more barbecue.
Yeah, but you go with your friends, your barbecue family, which is.
I always said I would do it for free, and it's true. So
that's awesome. So when did you open the new place at the food hall?
So that happened we opened that early January of this year. Yeah. And so the downtown location is awesome. So everything basically comes out of Cherry. Everything's cooked here. Okay. We transport hot downtown, and we essentially, we try to keep it. It's funny because with the nature of barbecue, you sell out, and it's like when we first opened, we had no idea of numbers or how busy it was going to be, and it just as soon as it opened, it's like anything in any major city. Everyone's got to try it, and everyone's got to hang out. So we had lineups every day, and we sold out every day, and it was amazing. So now we very quickly we got a grasp on numbers, and so we will always do a double load. So we'll sometimes run out right after lunch, but then we'll make another run down to it's called Chef's Assembly, and we'll reload them for dinner service down there.
There's got to be a lot of coordinating for this location and then also for that location.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because I never thought my past career would prepare me for this, but all I did was logistics and location. So I was kind of like figuring out schedules and timing and all the rest of it.
That's perfect.
It's kind of coordinating stuff is what I did for years. So now it's just, if something happens, we figure out a way to fix it really quickly. I don't live in a no world. It's a yes world. So it's like, hey, can you do this? And I just say yes. Yeah. So I'm like, and then it's kind of like, figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out on the fly, which is totally doable.
Yeah, it's funny because some people are good with it, some people aren't. Some people like real structure and all that, and that's kind of something that I try to create as well. I give everyone our schedules, and we try to get caterings up on the board as soon as possible. But especially with my background in film, often I may get a call today and say, hey, can you do 100 brisket sandwiches for 8:00 tonight? And I'm like, yes.
That's great.
We'll figure it out.
Are you doing stuff for the production companies too? Is that kind of
I do. Yeah, I still do a lot of. I'll do catered lunches. Yeah. So we go out and we'll do full spreads for the crews, anywhere from 60 to 160 people, depending on crew size and who's all there. So we do that a lot. But in the summer, I try to do. It's when it's busiest, obviously, in the city. But I can't do as much as I'd like because we're busy with our customers in the restaurant, and that's primary. And we have a lot of large catering orders. So I find myself, myself and my managers will be doing various drops around Toronto 3 or 4 times a day. Wow. After once we basically, I'll get everything set up here. I usually do the run downtown, set up assembly so that they're ready for 11:30. But in that time, we may drop off 3 or 4 other large orders to bank buildings, trading floors. We got a lot of corporate clients, which is awesome. So there's nothing better than a bunch of guys in suits or an entire office of people all dressed up, just diving into barbecue. It's amazing.
That means a lot. And that's kind of like a classic look for barbecue because a lot of the old school places in Texas or in Memphis or like it's the guys like coming from their office coming down having a sloppy sandwich.
Like I remember we did one of the first large caterers we did for just guys who were fans of ours. We pulled in, and it's the entire trading floor, and they're like behind glass. It was like a room like Nassau, and they literally literally, we got off the elevator with the cart full of food, and it was a slow clap. Like the entire room just got up and just started clapping. And I'm like, this is awesome.
That's really cool. I wanted to ask what kind of sides do you have? Do you have classic sides?
Yeah, we do a classic queso mac and cheese. We do an apple cider vinegar slaw. We do a ranch style potato salad. We have our chili, which is made from ain't no beans in chili. It's just ground brisket and 4 types of chili peppers.
Oh, that's perfect.
A base, yeah, it's really, really good. We've got obviously, trying to make sure I got everything covered.
Yeah, you're looking at the board?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the board. We do a veg version of our brisket beans, of our burnt end beans.
Oh, cool.
Our beans are awesome. People have them, and they're like, these are not a side dish. So we get people who often will just order them by the quart and take them home. And
I was going to say I would, for sure. The chili, too.
They're so good. Like my Saturday mornings, I'll come in and I'll just take some beans and put a fried egg on top of some avocado, and it's the best.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's everything you need.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. I love that. We were doing we called it barbecue brunch, and it was basically anything you wanted with an egg on top. It was a bit of a joke.
I've never had brisket with an egg on top though.
Oh, chopped brisket with an egg on top, and we put, instead of doing pickles and onions, we put sofrito on top and cheese, and it's so good. The peppers and onions on chopped brisket with an egg, it's really, really good.
Oh, this is just killing me. It's number one, LA doesn't have a lot of barbecue options. We have different barbecue, but also too, this sounds like you're killing it there, and it just sounds so fun. You're doing it with passion, but also just with a joy, which is
you gotta love what you do. I mean, I left a great career that I'd spent 20 years building to cook barbecue, and I was like, everyone's like, "Are you happy?" I'm like, "I'm super happy." They're like, "Well, you look happy." Yeah. They're like, "You," and
it's glowing. It's crazy.
It's a lot of fun. Every day you get up and you look forward to coming to work, and I have an amazing team. I've got great staff. From whether it's front of house to back of house, my guys outside in the pits are working really hard. It's funny because I get guys coming in who are traditional cooks and they went to culinary school, and I'm like, they'll come in and they're like, "I really want to learn barbecue." I'm like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Because it's not easy." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "We don't throw stuff in an oven and forget about it." I'm like, "You got to go out there. You got to work the fire. It's a lot of heavy lifting. It's chopping wood." I'm like, it's all these things. It's not flipping pans, right? Because
that's satisfying.
a ton of respect for chefs and for cooks. But then when these guys come in, they have no idea what's involved. I'm like, why don't you come in for a couple of days? And I said, I'll even pay you. I don't expect you to stage. I said, but see what's involved and see if this is really what you want to do, because you got to weed out people. Otherwise, you spend a bunch of time training someone for a couple of weeks, and then they're like, "Man, this is way harder than I thought." I'm like, I got tired of hearing this is way harder than I thought.
It's like a broken record. That's so funny. But it is a lot more work and a lot more time and a lot more. Yeah, there's so much involved.
It's that hard work and it's that care that makes a better product.
Exactly.
Right. So it's the attention to detail and it's caring about it. I always said it's like when you have someone out there manning a fire all night long or for the entire time the cook is rolling, you are putting a lot of attention into what you're doing. Sure, things go wrong sometimes and things may happen, but for the most part, you're going to make a better product because you're actively involved in its development as it cooks, and its progression.
And you've got to respect that too, and that's something too that I think people too also don't realize. That's a lot of people. It seems like barbecue people put photos like, "Hey, I'm staying up all night, so you don't have to." But it's true because a lot of people don't realize what people.
That's why I love, and we get a lot of. I love I call them like the weekend warriors, the guys who cook barbecue once or twice every summer, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I made the best brisket." I'm like, "Okay, now make 60, make them all perfect every day," and then and it's great. I mean, I love barbecue fans. It's so amazing how people light up and how much they, like I said, with the pit tours, like they come out back and start showing them the pits and start talking about barbecue and they start feeling the passion. They start to glow and they're so happy. And they're like, "Man, can I come hang out?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on, hang out anytime. You want to chop wood? You want to lift briskets and carry them out to the cooker for me? Yeah, no problem. Anytime you want."
That's awesome. Well, I'd like to stage there sometime too. I can't wait to visit. I really can. But I'd like to spend some time just seeing your process.
Food scene in Toronto has always been great, and now there's some people who are very passionate about barbecue, cooking some barbecue as well. So there's a lot of great reasons to come up to Toronto and pay a visit, especially in a summer like this one. It's pretty magical when the weather's nice. It's awesome. I sit here and I don't know if you can see it, like one of the best views of out my window of basically the towers there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's across from a lot, but I've got the entire skyline basically. Like if you watch any sporting event and they've got that opening shot,
Oh,
They
yeah.
come across the water, and that's pretty much from where we are.
Oh, that's so cool.
So literally, it's funny because I fluctuate between Imperial and Metric all the time. Distance-wise, I'm probably not even, like 4 miles from the core,
All right.
like super close. Like I said, like in traffic, it's 10 minutes to get to the downtown location to get to load in.
Oh, nice.
So after we wrap up, I'm going to load the van up and then head downtown, get them ready, and then head back here and make some catering deliveries.
Nice. Can I get a quick little tour, or like just for a second?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go.
Just because I love when people get a chance to see the.
So this is so that's the restaurant.
Okay. Cool.
So it's a great, like I said, it's a great old bank building, all wood ceilings
I
and
love
stuff.
the ceiling. That's awesome. The wall.
Yeah, super cool. We built, we put in the bar, and that, and then so we got all this stuff here. I'll take you out to the patio.
Cool. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, no problem. 1 second, put this down here. All right, here we go. So.
Oh, that's a great space.
So that's basically the view from the patio.
And that tower. That's.
Yeah.
Oh,
so this is so those are the containers there. These are our bars. So that those doors open up, those windows open up, and that's our service area from the bar.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then we got our little band shell here. We do live music on the weekends.
What a great spot. Lawrence,
Yeah.
This is awesome. I love this
So
place.
it's pretty awesome. And then we've got we had as things happen with restaurants. My Friday morning, I came in and my entire walk-in fridge went down. So
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So I've had this van reefer truck here packed with meat for the last 4 days.
Oh.
Because I'm waiting for my fridge to get repaired. So we've had to work out of the van, which has been kind of interesting. This is our mobile laying unit.
Gotcha.
You know what it is? The internet does. I'm losing the signal out by the cookers. So yeah. So. Yeah, so those are all the containers. So that's he's like the best bartender in the world.
Hey.
And he's an amazing axe thrower. We've got I don't know if you've ever heard of like how big axe throwing is getting. It's a place called Battle, and they've got places in Nashville now, and Philly, and all over the States. They're popping up, but their original locations around the corner from us, and we do a lot of work with them. So I throw axes on Wednesday nights in a league, which is kind of funny. Swing an axe all day and then throw an axe at night.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. Is that something the public can throw axes if they
absolutely. It's a really, especially in Nashville, it's really popular with like groups celebrating either birthdays, stagettes, corporate functions. It's very, very cool. So
I don't know if LA has one. I'm sure they have it somewhere. I have to check that out.
Is there an LA location? No, eh?
There's other axe throwing companies in Stanford and stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple other there's other companies opening up too. It's not just there's the NATL, which is like the National Axe Throwing League, and they're like a governing body, and they all join, and then they have like skills competitions and championships and all stuff, and we work a lot with them. We cater all their events, so it's a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Well, Lawrence, thank you so much for everything and for your passion and the drive, and I'm so excited for you, and I'm excited to come up there and try. I think everyone should, and I'll put addresses and maps and stuff for people so they know.
Super cool. That's awesome. I'm glad we finally made it work.
I know. Sorry about that.
No problem. It was like, and it's better happen now. I mean, when we first started talking about this, it was still wintertime up here. So I'm if he does the interview now, it's going to look like I'm doing barbecue in in Alaska.
No, but I should. We'll catch back in like 5 months from now, so that way we can do like a little
For
snippet.
the winter version, yeah. That's when you really test how much people want to cook barbecue. When it's -30, and you're trying to run the fire, and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, we'll see if your smile is like a little bit smaller.
Yeah, exactly. I'm blowing because it's summertime.
Exactly. Well, cool. We'll have a great week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin.